Okay, are you thinking about buying a home in Beaumont, California? Well, before you do, I think there are some things you need to think about before you decide to plant some roots there in Beaumont. There are some very appealing things about Beaumont that we'll get into as well, but we're gonna take a look at both sides, right? The pros and the cons of living in Beaumont. And for me, one particular question that I would want answered if I were in your shoes and thinking about making that move to Beaumont. All right, let's get started. Okay, so like I said, this video is going to be about the pros and cons of living in Beaumont, California. So not necessarily looking at the real estate itself. If you want to have an idea of some of the real estate available for sale in Beaumont, why don't you go ahead and check out this video instead. This one is going to be more about just life in general. We're gonna start positive and start with the number one pro of living in Beaumont, and that is affordability. Especially if you're coming from elsewhere, like outside of the state of California. You know, I think one thing that most people would think is just the cost of living in California is just so high. Now, it depends where you're coming from, right? Because it's all relative. But in terms of Southern California, Beaumont is actually quite livable, right? You're about an hour and a half inland from the coast. So your normal goods and services aren't as expensive, just the cost of living, if you're renting or buying or wherever it may be, it is more feasible in Beaumont than in other places in Southern California. Now, another great aspect about Beaumont is that it is growing, right? And so if you are thinking about buying soon in Beaumont, the great thing is if more and more people are coming, that's only going to drive up the value of the property in and around Beaumont. So if you, let's say you find something you like for, I don't know, let's call it mid 500s or close to 600, value of your property should, I would think, continue to rise and rise and rise as Beaumont becomes more and more popular and it becomes a bigger city, and all those values of the homes would just continue to rise. Okay, now one of the benefits for sure about living in Beaumont is public education, right? So if you have kids that would be in the school system, Beaumont Unified School District has very high rated public schools all the way from elementary through high school. Okay, now if I were you, this would be the major question I would want answering before deciding if I were gonna move my family to Beaumont, right? If you have young kids like I do, your kids are eventually gonna be going to high school and you want them in a good spot in their high school years, right? Beaumont has one high school, right? Home of the Cougars, great place, great high school. My question is there another high school coming, right? When I was in high school many, many years ago, Beaumont was rather small. Now, Beaumont is a huge high school. I think they just finished construction on a whole brand new building that is just dedicated to freshmen on campus. And I think the total population in terms of students at Beaumont High School is like over 4,000 students, with plans to be able to accommodate, I think, 5,000 students. Although there could be some pros to that, going to a very, very large high school, in my view, I'm seeing a lot more cons for your student to go into a huge high school like that. I would feel much better if there were plans, right, for building another high school in town. The city of Redlands went through this in the 90s. There were plenty of folks who did not want Redlands East Valley constructed way back in the early 90s and mid 90s. Finally, it got through. Rev was built, and then 15, 16, 17 years later, Citrus Valley opened. Now Redlands is a 3 high school town. So my major question would be, what is what's gonna happen in the city of Beaumont in terms of high schools? How can it continue to grow and still there just be one high school? We don't know. Okay, now one of the drawbacks for sure of living in Beaumont is just having to deal with traffic in general. Just living in Southern California as a whole, right? You know, Beaumont is a little over an hour and a half from Los Angeles. So hopefully you're not commuting all the way out there to work. But if you are doing traveling around Southern California, you're just gonna have to account for traffic, right? It's just part of the deal with living in California. Now, as Beaumont has grown in the past 15, close to 20 years, there's been more and more construction, right, out on the 10, headed out east. That they've been widening the exit ramps and doing all kinds of things to help with traffic. But the reality is more people moving out there is just gonna contribute to just more and more traffic. So please have an idea of what your lifestyle would be like, what kind of job you have, what kind of commute you have, so that you know you are enjoying where you're living. And if you're out, you know, weekend warrior type stuff on the weekend, just know that, you know, you should always be plugging in your addresses into Waze or Google Maps or whatever it is, and just planning for traffic, unfortunately. Okay, now this is a fun one for me. Another pro to living in Beaumont is the golf courses, and public golf courses at that. You have 3 championship level golf courses in Oak Valley, just north of the freeway, of the 10, that is. And then you have Tuckwit Canyon, Morongo Golf Club, Tuckwit Canyon. You have Legends and Champions. So 36 holes at Tuckwit, and then 18 at Oak Valley. 3 really, really good public golf courses. If you're living in Beaumont, you're pretty much spoiled, because public golf in Southern California, it's kind of hit and miss, right? And depending on how much you want to pay, especially these days, prices have gone up a little bit, you're getting a lot of value at Oak Valley and at Tuckwit Canyon. Tuckwit Canyon has really good practice facility, huge driving range, chipping greens, putting greens. So if you want to spend, you know, an hour, 90 minutes, you can squeeze in some practice. Tuckwit Canyon is perfect for that. Pace of play at Tuckwit, especially on the weekends, can be a little bit slow. Oak Valley, pace of play is normally very, very good. Oak Valley is probably a little bit more expensive, but both great public golf options. Okay, gotta do it again, but another drawback to living in Beaumont, another con, is the weather. Right? And this could be debated. I could hear it from the other side. Really comes down to personal preference. But for me, overall, the weather for me is a con living in Beaumont. You know, it can get so hot, right? We'll have 2 or 3 months in a row sometimes of just oppressive heat. And it's like we endure all that heat, you know, from July, August, September, sometimes even October, and sometimes, heck, you know, it's been Thanksgiving and, you know, you find yourself and it's 95 degrees. It's like you endure all those super hot days to, you know, really enjoy the moderate temperatures from November, December, January until like February, March, before it starts to heat back up again. But unfortunately for me, the weather is a con living in Beaumont. Now, another thing associated with that weather living in Beaumont is unfortunately wildfires. Right? Beaumont is pretty close to several mountainous areas. And unfortunately here in Southern California, we definitely do have, you know, the wildfire season. So depending on where you are in Beaumont exactly, you're probably gonna have to get used to just kind of dealing with, you know, the smoke and the ashes when those wildfires do come around. Okay, now let's get back on the positive side of things. Another pro to living in Beaumont is just experiencing the consistent growth that Beaumont has seen in the last 5, 6, 7 years. Right? It wasn't so long ago that Beaumont didn't have all these kinds of, you know, shopping and restaurants and just things to do in general. More and more builders have built these brand new homes in Beaumont, and people have bought them, right? So the population is growing. The value of, the city as a whole has just continued to increase. Now we'll see what happens in the near future here, but definitely a tick in the positive column, just thinking about what it's like living in Beaumont with all this consistent growth. Okay, another pro to living in Beaumont is its location, right? Beaumont is rather centrally located when you look at the big picture in Southern California. San Diego, probably less than a 2-hour drive, depending on traffic. Get out to Palm Springs. Palm Springs has a lot to offer. Very popular destination, definitely during the winter months. That's only about a 30 to 40 minute drive. If you're a mountain person, getting up to Big Bear, Lake Arrowhead, or even further up to there are options. You're only up, depending on which beach you want to go to, you can get to the coast from Beaumont, make it a fairly easy day trip. So you're very much centrally located within Southern California. Riverside, a city of well over 200,000 people. You can be in downtown Riverside, enjoying what Riverside has to offer in mostly less than about 25 minutes. So Beaumont, just its location within Southern California, is very good. Too close to very congested areas in terms of Los Angeles or San Diego or Orange County, but you're close enough where you can make day trips. If your kids have sporting events, you're able to make all those day trips work, and it's just a good spot to be. Okay, now another pro to living in Beaumont is just the level of security and safety. The overall amount of crime that is happening in Beaumont is very, very low. It's just a very safe place for you to live. If you have little kids, for you to, raise your kids, take them, on walks to the park, going out in public. It's just a very safe community. Many of the communities in Beaumont are even gated communities, so you would have even a more sense of security if your home was within one of those communities. But overall, just a very safe place for you to live as well as raise your family. Okay, so I hope that gives you a good idea of what life is like in Beaumont before you decide to buy. It's not all perfect. I do think the pros probably outweigh the cons, but everybody values things differently. So you'd have to make that decision on your own. Again, biggest question for me is, what are Beaumont's plans in terms of another high school? Is it forever going to be a one high school town, or will someday Beaumont have another high school? That remains to be seen. If you have found value in this video, I sure hope you have, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and tap the bell for notifications. So hopefully you can do some more learning on some of my other videos. Again, if you want to look at some actual real estate, perhaps this video would be more appropriate. In the meantime, please do not hesitate to reach out. I would love to show you around Beaumont. All my information is down in the description below. All right, see you next time.